The Book of Nahum offers a profound meditation on the character of God, particularly his coexistence of patience and justice. It reminds us that God is both slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, yet he will by no means clear the guilty. This truth, encapsulated in Nahum chapter 1 verse 3, forms the bedrock of understanding God's dealings with the ancient city of Nineveh. God's patience is often misconstrued as weakness or indifference. However, it stems from his immense mercy and willingness to grant repentance. He bears with the wicked not because he condones their actions, but because he desires their transformation. Yet his patience is not infinite. When wickedness persists and repentance is spurned, his justice, like a mighty river, inevitably breaks its banks. This duality of nature, patience interwoven with justice, is central to comprehending the message of Nahum and God's interaction with humanity. This seemingly paradoxical nature of God, his patience and his justice, are not contradictory but complementary. They reflect the fullness of his being, his unwavering commitment to righteousness, and his deep love for his creation. Nineveh, the Assyrian capital, was a byword for cruelty and oppression. Its ruthlessness and brutality echoed throughout the ancient world, leaving a trail of devastation and despair in its wake. Yet, God, in his mercy, extended a hand of grace to this wicked city. The prophet Jonah, a reluctant messenger, was sent to warn Nineveh of impending judgment. To the astonishment of many, the Ninevites, from the king to the lowliest citizen, repented in sackcloth and ashes. They turned from their evil ways, acknowledging their wickedness and seeking God's forgiveness. God, in his infinite compassion, relented and spared Nineveh from destruction. The city was granted a reprieve, a second chance to walk in righteousness and forsake its violent past. However, this reprieve was not a pardon. The seeds of their former wickedness, though dormant, were not eradicated. Over time, the memory of their repentance faded. Complacency crept in, and Nineveh gradually reverted to its former wickedness. The city, once humbled, once more embraced its brutal practices, its heart hardened against the God who had shown it mercy. A century after Jonah, God called another prophet, Nahum, to pronounce judgment upon Nineveh. Nahum's prophecy was not a message of repentance but a pronouncement of doom, a vivid depiction of the impending destruction that would befall the city. He described in graphic detail the chaos and carnage that would engulf Nineveh. The once mighty walls would crumble, its streets would run red with blood, and its inhabitants would be scattered to the winds. The city that once struck terror in the hearts of nations would itself become a spectacle of terror and devastation. Nahum's prophecy was not merely a prediction of future events, it was a divine commentary on the nature of sin and the inevitability of judgment. It served as a stark reminder that God's patience, though immeasurable, is not without limits. His justice, though slow to manifest, is certain and unyielding. The fall of Nineveh, as foretold by Nahum, stands as a testament to the truth that no nation, no matter how powerful or entrenched in wickedness, is beyond the reach of God's judgment. Section 4. The depravity of Nineveh, a city steeped in wickedness. The Book of Nahum does not shy away from exposing the depths of Nineveh's depravity. The Assyrians were notorious for their brutality, both in war and in peace. Their military campaigns were characterized by unparalleled cruelty, leaving a trail of shattered kingdoms and broken bodies in their wake. They reveled in violence, employing torture, impalement, and flaying as instruments of terror and subjugation. Their thirst for power and dominion knew no bounds, and they amassed vast wealth through plunder and extortion. The spoils of war fueled their lavish lifestyles and insatiable greed. Their cruelty was not confined to the battlefield. Within their opulent palaces, corruption and moral decay festered. Idolatry was rampant. Their hearts turned away from the one true God towards lifeless idols of wood and stone. They worshipped false gods, embracing pagan rituals and sacrificing their own children in the fires of Molech. Their wickedness permeated every level of society, from the rulers in their ivory palaces to the commoners in the crowded streets. The stench of their sin rose to the heavens, a stench so overwhelming that it could no longer be ignored. Section 5. Divine Retribution, the Unyielding Hand of Justice. The destruction of Nineveh was a carefully orchestrated act of divine retribution. God judged the wickedness of this once proud city. He would not allow their cruelty and idolatry to go unpunished. Nahum's prophecy detailed their punishment. Their own wickedness would be turned against them. The things they used to terrorize others would destroy them. Their defenses and armies would prove futile. God raised the Babylonians and Medes to carry out his judgment. The fall of Nineveh was swift and decisive. The city crumbled under the Babylonian and Median forces, their idols shattered, treasures plundered, and palaces reduced to rubble. The Assyrian Empire, built on violence and oppression, was swept away by history. Section 6. Finding Refuge in God, Hope for the Weary and Oppressed. The Book of Nahum, while a stark reminder of God's judgment, also offers a message of hope, particularly for those who have suffered under the weight of injustice. It assures us that God sees the plight of the oppressed, hears the cries of the afflicted, and will not remain silent in the face of evil. For those who have endured the tyranny of wicked men, who have witnessed the triumph of evil, and who have questioned the silence of heaven, Nahum's prophecy offers solace. It affirms that God is not indifferent to the suffering of his creation. He is not blind to the tears of the innocent, nor is he deaf to the cries of the oppressed. While he may seem silent for a time, his justice, though it tarries, will surely come. He will vindicate the righteous, avenge the wronged, and establish his kingdom of righteousness and peace. He is the refuge of the oppressed, the stronghold in the day of trouble, and the defender of the weak. Section 7. The Ultimate Choice, Earthly Treasures or Eternal Hope. The Book of Nahum challenges us to examine where we place our trust and what we consider to be our ultimate security. Do we place our hope in the fleeting things of this world, in wealth, power, or human strength? Or do we find our security in the eternal God, the one who holds the future in his hands? Nineveh, with all its might and splendor, serves as a sobering reminder that earthly power is transient. Their pursuit of power and pleasure ultimately proved to be their downfall. They placed their trust in the things of this world, and their trust proved to be misplaced. The message of Nahum is not just for the ancient Ninevites but for us today. It is a call to repentance, a plea to turn away from wickedness and embrace righteousness. It is a reminder that God's patience, though great, is not infinite, and that judgment, though it may delay, will surely come. The Book of Nahum, while a testament to God's judgment, ultimately points us to his mercy and grace. It reminds us that there is hope for the repentant, forgiveness for the contrite, and refuge for the weary. It challenges us to place our trust not in the fleeting things of this world, but in the eternal God, the one who alone can offer true security and lasting hope. If this message encouraged you, share with someone who needs to hear this truth.